You're listening to the Shit You Can't Make Up podcast, a conversation with friends, hosted by Marisol Sanchez.
Hello, testing. So this is podcast number 4, test podcast number 4. The first one, I was everywhere, but got some positive feedback from it. The second one, I listened to. I didn't actually share it with my wonderful creative team that are being awesome to listen to this and help me figure out what I want this to be. But the second one I didn't send out to you guys because it was very raw. I'm sorry. There is nothing I can do about my dog. She's just going to be part of this podcast. All right. And where was I? The third one, I actually thought the third one was pretty good. I think, at least I felt, but I didn't listen to it. I just sent it. But I felt good about it, and when I finished, I was exhausted. I was like emotionally and physically exhausted. So I think some good shit was on there. Unfortunately, it didn't record, and I really can't recreate it. And maybe I'll come back at another time. The topic was fears and my worst fears, and then actually talking out my worst fears. And it, it was, I thought, funny. Had moments of, my dog's making this weird sound, and I don't know. She just isn't used to me talking to no one, I guess. I don't know. But I'm talking to you. She just doesn't know that. So today is Father's Day, and I thought, one common note I've gotten is to have a theme versus just going around everywhere. And so I thought, well, that's a perfect theme, Father's Day. I have so much to say on this topic. And the first thing I'd want to say, do you hear her click-clacking? There's nothing I can do about that, except maybe trim her nails. Can you just sit? Shh. Okay. Shh. I love you. Shh. Okay, sorry. Father's Day. The first thing I want to say is I do mean this from the bottom of my heart. This generation, my generation, I'm 41, so whatever falls within that generation of fathers really are, awesome. I wish my generation, or that I had been raised by the fathers, like, the dads of today. They're just more involved. It's more than just the typical. Hold on a second. I think I'm just going to pause and figure out this dog thing. Hold on, because okay, sorry. When all else fails, you get treats. Father's Day. This generation. I just think you guys have just done so much better than the last generation. I really do. And but I also have, another side of it is you should. Like, it's I think we will all be better human beings if the mother and the father are both involved in their children's lives. I wholeheartedly believe that. So, Father's Day. My dad. My dad passed away 15, 16, I'm bad with dates, but a while ago. He was from Spain, and that's, a cool thing about my dad. I believe, I don't really know any of this to be factually true, but I believe he left Spain on some boat. I want to say, Merchant Marine. I don't know, that might be stretching it. I really don't know. But anyway, he left Spain, ended up in New York. I know nothing about this period of time in my father's life. But this is what I do know about my dad. He married my mother, which in and itself says a lot about him. She was a single mom. She'd twice divorced. and had two children from two different baby daddies. And she, though very beautiful, I think I can kindly describe her as a difficult person. Though I wonder if she showed that side in the courting process. I would love to go back in time and watch that. I don't know. I don't know if that just came out after. But anyway, he married my mother and had two children with her, my brother, who's 7 years older than me, and myself. The stories I've heard was that he really wanted a little girl. My name's Marisol, and that was, what I've been told, again, was a very popular Spanish name. And we lived with him till I was, I think, 7. I'm giving the dog a treat. 7. And then we moved from New York to Miami. My mother and my brothers and I did. My older brother, I believe, at this time was in the Army. My mother had 4 children. So I'm the youngest, the only girl, and there's, I believe, 18 years difference between me and my oldest brother. 18, 11 years, and 7 years difference. Which actually, later on, explains, I think, a lot about my relationship with my mom. And a lot about my mom, possibly not dating after I was born. But that's a different podcast. You'll have to wait for that one. Father's Day. So at that point, I guess somewhere in my psyche, or, in my head, my parents were divorced when we moved, when we moved the fuck away, and my parents weren't living together. Silly me. Thought that they were divorced. I did not grow up in a household where you had family meetings to discuss, things at all. So, or at least I was maybe way too young to be involved in the decision-making process. Moved to Miami, and then my relationship with my dad was basically phone calls. I'd see him every once in a while. I don't believe there was ever no one had gone to court. There's no custody. There was child support, but it didn't seem to be consistent. But it was there. It was weird. I don't really know. I felt like he did the best he could. It would have been awesome if he had done more. I certainly think I have some resentment for the fact that, there was a period in time that my mom was probably, she was not, of sound, I don't know. I feel that he left me in a situation that was harmful to me. And I don't know if that's an accurate description. But that's how I felt. I felt abandoned by him in some way. If I didn't feel it at the time, I certainly have come to feel that way now. Actually, I could probably honestly say I never really thought I had any daddy issues. I didn't, because my mommy issues were so huge and vast and enormous that I never really gave, weight to any daddy issues. But I did. I do have them. Whenever someone is mean to me, and then I'm lucky enough that I really don't have that much, in my life anymore that are mean to me. But if a person is mean to me consistently and for no reason, when I legitimately, don't know why they're mad or upset or stressed out, but, I feel like they kind of are taking it out on me. I miss my dad. I miss the idea of a father figure. I wish there was someone in my life who would, just like, poke this person in the chest and be like, don't fucking mess with my daughter. Just go be a dick to someone else. If you, and that actually happened probably in the last few years that I would have that realization. But I don't want to sound like it's all negative or bad. He took me to Spain. I remember this trip. Went with my cousins. I think we were there for a month. He was very prideful about Spain, and I love that. I will tell you this. This is funny. Not knowing about your history too much and not knowing your parents well. Something I can relate to because, well, here's a funny story. So my father passed away, and we what did we do? Cremate him. We cremated him, and he had ashes in an urn. And many years after his death, I was going to Spain, and I took. My brother had the urn, and I took it to bury my father in Spain because we all knew that that's what he wanted. He would have wanted. And this is, post 9/11, so I had to take the urn in the day before to get it scanned and stuff. I didn't have a bag. I didn't have a bag that this urn could fit in. It was a heavy urn. I didn't have a bag. And the perfect bag that fit the urn fit this perfect bag was this one bag that I received as a gift on a girls' trip. And it was a black and white polka dot bag with a big pink bow and my initials, married initials. What is that called? Monogrammed on it. Very girly purse. And it's the bag that I would use for my private goodie toy collection. And, but it's a bag that fits. So I just thought it was funny that, he was basically my, toy bag, my girly toy bag. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just, was trying to see the humor in the situation. But, we're traveling into Spain. I'm on a long layover, and he's in this bag, and I'm having a drink, and I have this, I'm like talking to him. I'm like, what the fuck? How did you leave me in that situation? Like my dad warned me a few times along my childhood, and definitely when I was in high school, to leave, my mother as soon as I could. And I left 2 days after high school. And I came back briefly, I believe, at some point in my 20s, but I left again. And but anyway, so I forgot what I was talking about. Spain. We go to Spain. We're having this drink. My dad and I are having this drink. And I was like, this is what you get. This is what happens when you don't raise your child, and you don't protect your child, and you don't love your child. You end up in a, polka dotted, monogrammed, pink bowed bag. But I guess that was my anger. I was working out. But, I don't want to end on this bitter, ugly note. The other, stories about my dad, he married my mother. This is, her third marriage. This is not in a time where I think that was common. I think I didn't know my mother had been divorced or had those other husbands, or that I had brothers from a different father until I was like 8. And it dawned on me when I realized my brother had a different last name than I did. Hold on, I've got to throw some treats. I'm sure that can't sound good. Where was I? Having drinks with my dad. Okay, the good stuff about my dad. The stuff that I'm grateful for. He married a single mom who had 2 kids. I believe those kids were in Honduras, and I think Honduras. My mother had left them with my grandmother, I believe that to be true. I'm going to have my cousin on one day, and she's going to verify all these stories for me. But I think that says a lot about him. I think that says great things about him. I have a cousin from my mother's side, actually, who's very close to my dad, and recently he visited, and we really talked a lot about my dad, and that was fun. It was fun to learn about your father. I have a cousin who doesn't know who their father is, and actually I probably should text her something sweet right now before I forget. Hold on one second. We do this really cool thing where we send each other lovely, like inspirational. Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna send her heart and kisses. Well. Anyway, back to my father. He was funny. He liked fine things, from what I can tell. He liked good taste. I remember going to a restaurant with him once, and I guess it was a fancy restaurant, but I didn't know it was a fancy restaurant. And I asked for ketchup for my potato, and he was mortified. He was funny. I do think he might have been slightly racist. I hate to say it, but based on, well, it's just what it is. It's true. I asked my cousin, I was like, so, we had this deep talk about my dad, and I'm like, so do you think my dad would be proud of me? Like, the person I am, the mother I am to his grandkids. And, he was funny. He said, he just thought for a second, he put his hand to his chin, and you could tell he was taking this question very seriously. And he says, well, let me ask you, have you ever slept with a black man? And he was dead serious, and I just laughed. So my dad had some good stuff about him. My mom had this one great story, or I've heard it once or twice in my childhood, and I think, again, it says a lot. I think it says a lot about both of them. There's one point in our life, I guess we would be described as middle class, and I was young. I was before, I would say 5 and younger. Maybe one day my brother will come on and help me with this timeline. We were middle class, like we had, the American dream, I think. And so my mom tells a story that she hid in a closet while my dad was home with her sons. I don't think my brother or I had been born yet. And she watched him, and she was suspicious. She just didn't know. She didn't know if this man was going to harm her children in some way. And I think her and her sisters have seen some, violent shit. My mother's one of 12 from Honduras, so I'm sure there's, lots of examples of bad shit going down. So she watched, and my dad was playing baseball with the boys. Like, you can't even make that shit up. That's awesome. I think that said a lot about my dad, too. But anyway, so everyone has daddy issues. I see daddy issues in everyone. We all have them, because no one's perfect. We are giving issues to our children. The goal is just to do, I think, this is my personal opinion, the goal for me is just, and I feel like I've already hit this goal, so I'm okay, but just to do better than the generation before, just to do better. And I do think, I think the dads of this generation, fucking have done better, and that's great. There is a part of me that feels like you still need to do more. I think the men of this generation really need to teach our sons to be emotional people, because they are. And I think raising a generation of boys to not feel or process is sad. It's sad and scary I see the difference in my children's generation. I see the difference in the boys and the girls. The girls, they just have their shit together. They're just in a place where, and when I say shit together, it's like, it's, again, not just the physical. It's not, it's emotional. There's an emotional growth that is lacking so anyway, that's my little note. If you want a new generation of fathers, want to have a goal for next year, it's really to teach. Well, probably first step would be to teach yourselves how to be emotional people. And emotional doesn't, you don't have to be, crying every month or anything, but just recognize that there's more emotions than, happy and anger and sad. There's a spectrum, and feelings are okay, and not to have to bottle shit up, because when you bottle shit up and you don't deal with it and you don't face your shit, and facing your shit comes in 100 different varieties, but if you don't, it's noticeable, and or at least it's to me, and I don't judge people for it. I just feel like I've really worked hard on facing my shit. And if you get a little taste of that in this podcast, I have a lot of shit that I had to process and get through. I did. Or I'm doing. I think it's forever. It's forever going to be an issue. Holidays are an issue with me. And that's going to be my next podcast. My next podcast is going to be about birthdays. We're going to go down memory lane and discuss birthdays of yesteryear and how much I fucking hate birthdays. So anyway, hopefully this recorded. I probably was all over the place again. I will work on it. Thank you again for listening, and thank you for your notes. I truly appreciate them. See you later. Bye.